Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, or I guess good evening, or good morning, or good night, wherever you happen to be in the world, wherever you're joining in from. I am Natalie MacLeese. I am founder of Aardvark, which is an accessibility testing tool. And we are here today to test out some vibe coding and see if we can get some accessible results from that. So I'll dig into what we're going to do in just a second here, but I just wanted to take a minute to say welcome. Thank you for joining me. If you're here live, wonderful. You can leave comments for me and I will be able to see those. And I'll try my best to respond to those live during the meeting. If you're watching it afterward, you can still leave a comment and that will find its way to me. So if you do have a question or anything like that, if you're watching back the recording, go ahead and post it and I'll be able to see it and get that answered for you. So given what kind of weather I think a lot of people are having, I'm not even going to mention what my weather is. I'm just not even going to talk about it. I don't want to make anybody feel upset. But if you're here and watching live, if you want to leave a comment and let me know where in the world you are joining from, and then let me know something yummy I should eat or something fun I should do if I come and visit that part of the world. So I always like to have a to-do list for places that I haven't visited yet, figure out what I should be doing when I go there. So let me know. Let me know what's there to do, what's there to eat in your part of the world where you live, and what should I give a try to. All right, so without any further delay, let's go ahead and dig into what we're doing today. So the stream is only an hour, and so we're gonna we're gonna hit 3 different models and see how they do with accessibility. Here's what we're working with. If I come over here, we have this form. It is not accessible at all. If you are a sighted mouse user, you can probably fill out this form without too many troubles. But if you are anyone else, you might have some issues. So hello from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and it says I should visit the Bates Motel. Oh my gosh, that sounds scary. Or Longwood Gardens. I am from Pennsylvania originally. That's where I was born and raised. But all the way on the other side, like as far away as you can get from Philadelphia and still be in Pennsylvania, up near Erie. And I've only been to Philadelphia once because it was so far. Pennsylvania is bigger than people think. All right. Anyway, this is our form that we have. Not accessible at all. Those are not actual form labels, even though they look like labels. They are not actually programmatically associated with our form fields. And that dropdown is not a real dropdown. It's a whole bunch of divs and spans, and it has no ability to receive keyboard focus. It has no ARIA attributes. It's basically it's like invisible. If you are using a keyboard only or a screen reader, you can't interact with that in any way. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 3 different models to the test and see how they do with this form. First, we're going to try ChatGPT, and we're going to use ChatGPT just in the chat interface, just like you were coming into ChatGPT to say, hey, what should I have for dinner tonight? Like that same interface. We're just going to try it out there. And if you are a developer, then you might think, well, that's not really how you vibe code, right? You'd have something integrated into your IDE. But let's remember that not everybody who is vibe coding or giving it a try is a developer, and they may not even know what an IDE is or have any idea what code is. And so there are plenty of people who are vibe coding in this way by just interacting with the chat interface. I actually watched a video of somebody who built an entire PHP and MySQL application with a front end and a back end for managing content completely in the chat interface of ChatGPT. It was definitely an exercise in frustration, and I wouldn't say I would recommend that approach, but they were able to do it and get it working. So it is one option that we have. So that's what we're going to try. We're going to have ChatGPT try this out and see how well it does. Then I have Claude Code integrated with Visual Studio, and we're going to chat with Claude Code a little bit, see if Claude Code can do better or worse than ChatGPT. And then finally, we're going to give Lovable a try, and we're going to see if I can prompt Lovable to give me a form and see if what I get back is accessible in any way, shape, or form. All right, so I have not done this before. All I have done is prep my things for the stream. So I'm trying this right alongside all of you. I have no idea what to expect. I have no idea what's going to happen. But here we are. So what I have done is I have prepared my prompts in advance because I didn't think it would be very fun to watch me typing them. So I will read them out as I paste them in. But basically, I have a naive prompt, what I'm calling a naive prompt for each of the tools, where I'm just going to say, so for the case where we're using Claude Code and ChatGPT, we already have a form, and I'm going to ask it, hey, are there any improvements that we could make to this form? And the naive prompt is not going to mention accessibility. And then I have a more explicit accessibility prompt that we're going to follow up with or try in a separate conversation to see what kind of results we get from both of those. So I have those all set and ready to go, and I will read them out at the time that I use them, but I didn't want you to have to sit there and watch me typing. So we are then going to test our form using this wonderful tool from Charlie Triplett, which is Atomic Accessibility. You can see that because we're working in code today, I chose HTML. And then from the left-hand side, I went ahead and selected the select drop-down list box as an option, which is if we're custom coding a replacement for a select element in HTML. This is the acceptance criteria that we have for accessibility testing. And he walks us through doing keyboard-only navigation on both mobile and desktop browsers. We're only doing desktop testing today, as I didn't want to introduce a whole new variable to the stream and try to stream a mobile screen. So we'll try these out and see how well our form performs. I guess that's a funny thing to try to say. And then we'll try the desktop screen reader. So I am on my Mac today, so we'll try it out with VoiceOver in Safari. And if we're interested, maybe next stream I could do the same experiment or a similar experiment, I guess, on a Windows machine and test everything out with NVDA. So we're going to go through the keyboard tests and the screen reader tests and see how our forms do that we get back. I also had a request to do the markup validation service and make sure that we got valid HTML back. So that'll just take a second. So we'll jump in and do that. And I've got my chat interface for ChatGPT ready to go. I have my chat interface for Lovable here and ready to go. And then I have my Visual Studio here as well, all queued up with Klein ready to go in the side. So just a quick note on Klein. So Klein is an open source project. It is model agnostic. So you can hook it up to any model that you like. I currently have this one hooked up to Claude Code Opus 4.5. So it should be the best of the best. And with ChatGPT, I am using 5.2. So, and then also just to be transparent about like what account levels and things we have with all of these tools. So I have never used Lovable before, but I did go ahead and sign up for a paid account because I did not want us to run into a case where I ran out of my credits. So, and I saw you only get 5 per day on the free account. So I went ahead and paid for an account. So we have 100, which should hopefully be enough to get us through this exercise because they only renew every 24 hours. ChatGPT, I am on the paid account, the $20 a month account. And then with Claude Code, I am on a paid account. I am on the $100 a month account with Claude Code. And like I said, I'm using that through Klein, which is a free open source tool. And what I like about Klein is that it's very transparent, so you can see everything that it's doing. And I also like that it has these these two separate modes for plan and act, where you can kind of chit chat with it a little bit in plan mode before it jumps in and makes any changes. And make sure that you're okay with what the plan is to go forward. And then once you have that plan all ironed out with it, you can flip it to act mode, and then it will implement the plan that you've kind of worked out together. So that's what we're going to be trying for Claude Code today. And you can see I have regular Claude Code installed here too, but we're going to use Klein today. All right, so the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and give ChatGPT a try. And so because I'm just using the chat interface for ChatGPT, I need to go ahead and copy and paste my code in there. And like I said, I have my prompts ready to go. So let's start with the naive prompt for ChatGPT. Sorry, I call it Chatty G, and I'm sure I am going to say that at some point on the stream. Okay, my naive prompt for Chatty G, I'm just going to say it, is I have an HTML contact form with a custom drop-down component. Can you review this code and identify any potential issues or improvements? And then I'm just going to go over to, I should have left it so I could see it. Oh, I'm minified. There we go. I'm just going to go ahead and grab all of my HTML and copy. And let's see, go back over here. Excuse me, sorry. And paste that in. And then, of course, I also need my JavaScript, because that is not going to work at all without JavaScript. So let's go ahead and grab that. And we'll paste that in as well. Okay, so once again, the prompt was, I have an HTML contact form with a custom drop-down component. Can you review this code and identify any potential issues or improvements? And this is our naive prompt. We're not mentioning anything about accessibility. So let's see what we get back. And it'll be much a surprise for me as for you. I have no idea. I haven't tried this out before. Thinking. All right. There's a bunch of issues here, mostly around form semantics. So that's a good sign. And the custom dropdown being div soup. No real value submitted, no keyboard support, no screen reader semantics, and likely some focus or closing edge cases. So basic review, form basics, labels, names required in submission. So great. Those are all accessibility things that it's calling out. My labels are span elements and not actual labels. My inputs have no ID or name, which is true. Required fields are only indicated with an asterisk. That's also absolutely true. And I need required, and ideally already required true, or just required if they're native fields. And my form has no action or method, which it said, maybe that's intentional. So let's go ahead and take a look at the code it gave us back. So we have a div, form group, which is fine, label, and it added our for attribute for us, and it added ID attribute on the input. It added the name attribute on the input, which was missing, which that's not really an accessibility problem. It's just a form functionality issue. And then we hid our little asterisk from screen readers with the ARIA hidden true, which is fine because they'll hear that it's required because of the required attribute that they added. And they also added autocomplete attributes for us, so that's pretty nice. It's overall looking pretty good so far. For our email, again, it put the for in the ID, added the autocomplete, added the required attribute, made sure we had a label. Message, so it skipped the drop down altogether. It's not even here. All right, so let's keep going and see what else it says. So also consider, autocomplete, which it added for us, and already described by if we have any helper text or errors, which right now those don't exist in the code. So that's a good thing for it to call out. Okay, I see the custom dropdown gets its whole own separate section. Okay, so our custom dropdown is the biggest functional and accessibility problem. It is not a form control. It doesn't create a value. Oh, and I just did want to show you, if I go back over to the form and I, mouse, I can actually use that and select something and it shows up. So it appears like it works. But if I try to use the keyboard, right, like I can't even get focus to land there because there's nothing for the focus to grab onto. And then if I launch, well, still in Chrome, but let me go ahead and launch VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on Chrome. Custom dropdown. Enter your name, edit text.
Yep. If I open the rotor.
Form controls menu.
Oops.
On item, how can we help form?
I put the form control menu over here. You can see.
Table. Row 3.
Okay. That it recognizes a text field called enter your name, which it's pulling the placeholder because the label isn't actually programmatically associated. It recognizes an email field, again with a placeholder, you@example.com, a text area with how can we help you, which again is the placeholder, and a send message button, right? Like no recognition that there is an entire other form field there at all. So let me go ahead and turn that back off.
No items in. Form custom dropdown. YOU. Add. VoiceOver off.
There we go. All right. So let's go back over here to ChatGPT. All right. And so it called all of that out. We have no keyboard support. It said we can manually add tab index. We can't open it with enter or space. We can't navigate the options with arrows. So I chose a custom dropdown on purpose because it is a pretty challenging custom component to get working accessibly if you, for whatever reason, cannot use just a regular select, because we have all different types of keyboard interactions and screen reader interactions that need to happen. And so I purposefully chose something that was going to be pretty tricky. So we have no semantics for the screen readers, right? There's no role, there's no RE expanded. It called all of that out. Our options have no role of option and no selection state. We have no focus management whatsoever. And we have a click outside handler that uses document on click, which of course is not very good JavaScript. So it does tell us that our best fix is to use a native select. So I agree, that would definitely be our best fix. And if for whatever reason we truly need custom rendering, it's going to give us this markup here instead. Nope, that's not custom. That is still a select. So yes, this is what I think it should ideally be. Is this select element. We have a label element with a 4, properly tried it to the ID, set it as required, hid the asterisk, and then set up the options. We have a default option with an empty value that says select an option. And then we have our other 5 options for what type of inquiry this is that happen underneath that. And then style the select. And of course, pretty recently, some more powerful CSS styling capabilities got added to CSS for selects. So we have even more ability to make those look custom. And then it does tell us that if you must keep the custom dropdown, you have 2 viable real patterns, which is to use a combo box plus ARIA controls plus ARIA expanded plus ARIA active descendant, right? So like I said, this is a complex component and it's pretty challenging to get it working, but it has called out, I think it caught everything. And then our other option would be a button and a list box. So a button type of button with a role of list box and a focusable role equals option items. And then to use a hidden input to actually submit the value to the back end. So that's another thing with the input that I have now. It looks fine on the front end, but it wouldn't actually submit your choice to the back end because it's not actually a form field, and there's nothing in the JavaScript that's handling that. All right, so it's offering to rewrite my component using pattern B, which I think is the button with the list box. So that it's keyboard operable, announces state to screen readers, submits properly with a hidden input, closes on outside click and on focus out, and doesn't hijack the document dot on click. And then JavaScript improvements, and then it says even before accessibility, So it's not impressed with my form, I guess. So I've got the document on click. Yeah, there's no value that gets passed to the back end. It picked that up. There's no guard if that's missing. Of course, enter and space don't work. And it's letting me know I should be using event listener instead of on click. So those are all just general JavaScript optimizations that don't necessarily have anything to do with the JavaScript. And visual UX validation touches, adding a max length, adding an ARIA live region for form errors, which right now that form has no handling for errors. And I don't think we'll worry about that today because we're trying to get through 3 different models, and that's going to take up all of our time. So we'll skip over any kind of error handling for the form for today. And we're going to mostly focus on that drop down. And so what I would do, I'd use a native select. If you need custom styling, you could do a visual wrapper. And I say, okay, so that is another thing. I've done that before where you just put a div around your select and then you get a little bit more control with CSS over exactly what the select looks like. Of course, that only styles the select in the closed, when it's closed, it doesn't style what the drop-down list looks like when it opens, which is determined by your operating system. Your browser and your operating system is what determines what that looks like inside. But those new CSS properties actually give you a lot more power to style all of that. And then if I truly need a custom UI, all right, so it says, tell me which of the 3 you want, and I'll produce a clean drop-in replacement, HTML and JavaScript for your chosen approach. Okay, so I think because we specifically want to test the custom dropdown, that I'm going to go ahead and ask it to go with this button list box hidden input and go ahead and give me the code. So let me go ahead and prompt it for that. This option for the dropdown, and please go ahead and give me replacement HTML and JS for my project. Okay, let's see what it gives us back. Okay, so it didn't exactly give me my whole HTML field back, but that's okay. All right, so it gave me just the drop down, it looks like, for the inquiry type field. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this file. All right, and let's rename this one. I don't have this checked into version control at all right now. We'll call this ChatGPT naive. And we'll go ahead and replace our inquiry field with what it gave us here. And let's go find it. There's our message. So it's this right here. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, that's it. Okay, form group. Okay, we'll paste in this new code it gave us. And then it gave us new JavaScript, which looks like that is a complete replacement for my JavaScript form. Oh, yeah. We got lots of stuff in here. So let's go ahead and copy that. And we'll go ahead and clone this one. Rename script ChatGPT. All right, and then I'll replace all of this, and then I just need to go back to this one and update my JavaScript link, which should be in the footer. There we go. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this one in Safari. Do I have handy here? And that should be ChatGPT naive.html. Oh, not found. Why not? Why not? That's funny. Wait, it finds the index, right? Oh, there we go. Oh, I have a hyphen where I shouldn't have one. There we go. All right. So here's. All right. Well, looks-wise, it doesn't win any prizes, but let's go ahead and give it a try according to our acceptance criteria over here. All right. So the first thing is let's go ahead and see if how it works with keyboard. So let me arrange that. Okay. So we should be able to use tab key to move focus to it and see when it has focus. So when I use the tab key to move focus to a select, I see focus is strongly visually indicated. So yes, that passes. Then when I use the arrow keys to select an option, I see the selected option is changed. So let's go ahead and use the arrow key. So it doesn't work right now, but let me try hitting spacebar first. Nope. Enter first. Nope. All right, so it's failing. It's not working so well. And then escape key when it's open. Well, I can't even seem to be able to open it. So that's not great. All right, well, let's see what happens if we fire up VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on Safari. Custom dropdown. Contact form. Window. Select an option. List box pop-up button has key.
Okay, well, that's promising. It did recognize it as a custom dropdown. So that's getting us somewhere. Let me go ahead and open up the rotor.
Form controls menu. On item, how can we help you? Text entry area blank. Select an YOU. Select an option. List box pop-up button.
Yeah, so it shows up now in the list of form fields. I don't know if we're going to be able to actually work it, but let's try. So let's look at our acceptance criteria for desktop
Gherkin
screen reader.
HTML. Form controls. Gherkin accept enter.
I have to remember not to use my mouse. Okay, when I use a desktop screen reader and I use the tab key to move focus to a select, I hear its purpose is clear. So it did tell me that it was a custom dropdown and it told me what the label was. I heard that it identified itself. It identifies itself as an option list, I think, and not one of these things. So that's something we need to look at. I hear hints or errors are read after the label, which we don't have any, and related inputs include a group name. We don't have any of those either. I hear it indicates which option is selected. Well, let's go ahead and see if we can actually use
select an option. List box pop-up button. Oh, okay. You are currently on a button.
It did say list box. So let's go ahead and see if I can actually use it. No. Oh, nope. Okay. So that failed. That wasn't a good one. All right, let's start a new
custom dropdown. Contact form. Web VoiceOver off.
Let's have VoiceOver stop talking to us. Let's go ahead and try the accessibility first prompt in ChatGPT, although honestly, I don't know that we're going to get much of a different result or anything new because it did immediately pick up that we had accessibility issues. It kind of failed at fixing them. It tried, like it kind of looked okay, but then when we actually tested it in the browser, it didn't actually work. So let's go ahead and give it this explicit accessibility prompt and see if we get any kind of different results. So let me go ahead and go back to my index.html. I will paste that in. And then I will paste in my JavaScript, the original JavaScript. And we'll see what happens. All right. See if it says anything different now that we've explicitly told it. I'm sorry, I didn't read out what my prompt was. Can you review this form for accessibility issues and suggest fixes? I want it to work for keyboard users and screen reader users. So I specifically told it what I wanted. And again, this looks like an almost identical answer so far to what we got last time, where it calls out the basic form semantics and the custom dropdown. Tells me all of my inputs don't have accessible names and is recommending fixes for those, which that is, I think, the identical fix to what it gave us last time for the form field labels. Um, let's see. It also recommends the autocomplete, and our text area should have name. It calls out right now that our required is only the little asterisk that appears next to the label of each form field. So it's visual only and isn't getting read out to any kind of assistive technology, and tells me that I need to use required on the required fields. And then, of course, the custom dropdown is completely inaccessible to keyboard and screen readers. All the same problems that we saw last time. And of course, tells me again, please just use semantic HTML, which I agree. That is our best, the best possible solution. So it is recommending strongly the best possible solution accessibility wise. And then it tells me again if I need a custom UI to use an accessible combo box, which last time it recommended. Well, I think it gave me this option, and then it gave me the option to do just the button with the list box, and said that that would be simpler. But even the one that it considered simpler, it wasn't able to actually give me working code for. Um, I would have to take some time to kind of dig into that code and figure out kind of where it went wrong, because it, like, just looking at it, it roughly looked like it was going in the right direction. But it must have gotten something wrong. And it could have hallucinated a CSS class name or an ID or something like that, and just completely, wrote JavaScript that's not actually applying to the page, for example. And then it gave us some updated JavaScript, which looks different than last time. So it looks like this time around, it's not giving us that kind of simpler custom option. It's only giving us the combo box option to do, and not the simpler one. And we've got all the JavaScript that would go with that to make it work. And it tells us that this now supports tab, enter in space, the arrow keys, to close escapes, to click outside, all of the things that we would normally expect. And to make sure that focus visible is actually visible. And here's a quick checklist it can give me for the form. So here's the things that I would need to do. And that generally looks like the right checklist of things to take care of. And then it's pushing back at me, do you really need this custom dropdown? So I like that. I like that it is kind of pushing me to do the semantic HTML solution rather than trying to code up on an ARIA component. So let's go ahead and try dropping this one in. And let's see if this one works. So I think this is, yeah, so this is just to replace, again, it just replaces our, the combo box. So it didn't give me the full HTML. So let's go ahead and clone this again. Let's see, copy, paste, and we'll rename this ChatGPT, oops, accessibility. Whoops, without an equal sign, with a hyphen. Okay, and let's go ahead and replace that drop down. So from form group to the closing form group, we'll drop in, oh, I don't think that's the right thing. Let me try that again. Copy this code. And let's see. Form group, full name, inquiry type. There we go. So let's go ahead and drop that in. And then let's go ahead and clone our JavaScript again and rename that to script ChatGPT accessibility. All right, and then in this file, I'm just going to update, oops, nope, in this file, I'm going to update the link to my JavaScript, to the accessible one. Okay, and ChatGPT accessibility. Let's go over to Safari and ChatGPT instead of naive, A11Y. All right. Oh, it looks better this time. It looks more like the other form fields. They changed it a little bit, but it's looking better. So let me go back and get our acceptance criteria here. So first up, for keyboard, All right, so when I use the tab key to move focus, I see the focus is strongly indicated. So yes, I agree. Then when I use the arrow keys to select an option, I see the selected option is changed. Arrow keys aren't working. Let's see, can I open it? Yep, it doesn't open again. So it's got a little problem with that. So I can't actually open it or change anything. I can't actually interact with it. So let's fire up VoiceOver and see if it's any better.
VoiceOver on Safari. Custom dropdown. Contact form. Window. Misspelled select an option. List box pop-up collapsed. Combo box. Has keyboard focus. You are currently on a...
Okay, so it does identify it as a combo box, that it is collapsed. I didn't hear it say the label, so let's try that. Let's go ahead and open the rotor.
Form controls menu. On item how can we help you text entry area blank. Misspelled select an option. List box pop-up collapsed. Combo box.
So it looks like it didn't correctly associate the label inquiry type with the custom combo box. So that looks like that's not working very
Misspelled
well.
select an option. List box pop-up collapsed. Combo box. You are currently on a combo box. Inside of web content. Custom dropdown. Contact for. Item was removed. Item was removed.
Was it?
Item was removed. Item was removed.
Well,
VoiceOver off.
I don't seem to be able to interact with that at all. So I think it seemed like maybe this one was a little bit closer. But again, it doesn't quite function. And quickly looking at the code, it looked like it was heading in the right direction. So it must have just gotten something wrong in there. And it's a little bit hard to guess what that might be. All right, so let's go ahead. ChatGPT didn't really pass the test, not with the naive prompt and not even with the explicit accessibility prompt. So let's go ahead and let's try out Claude Code and see if Claude does any better. So I want to go over to my index.html and I'm off the screen there. All right, so Klein. Let's go ahead and prompt this for Klein, and I want to explicitly tell it to look in index.html now that I've got other stuff in there. Okay, so the prompt I'm giving it, the naive prompt, is can you review this contact form and identify any potential issues or improvements? I am in plan mode, so let me go ahead and submit that. And I did make sure on all of my models that I had full credits available for this live stream, so hopefully we don't run out of tokens here before the end of the stream, but let's take a look at what it'll do. All right, so this is what I mean when I say it's pretty transparent. So it's telling me it's taking a look at the contact form and the JavaScript and CSS files as well. You can control Klein here, what it has access to do, right? So I have it so it can read my project files, but not all the files on my entire computer. It can't edit the project files without asking me for permission. It can only execute safe commands. If it wants to execute some other kind of command, I have to approve it. And I do have it enabled to use the browser so it could launch something new. And I have the MCP servers turned off. All right, so here is the plan that it came back with. Woo, it's long. Okay, let's take a look. So contact form review, issues and improvements. After reviewing index.html, script.jss, and styles.css, I've identified several issues. Critical accessibility issues. Okay, so the first thing it flagged was accessibility issues, even though we gave it only the naive prompt. So custom dropdown is inaccessible. The custom dropdown component has major accessibility barriers. There's no keyboard support. And there's no ARIA attributes. It's not focusable. It is screen reader invisible, which we saw when I tried the demo. It was completely invisible to screen readers. We have improper form labels. Yes, you can see span class equals label instead of actual label tags. So that is correct with, of course, no for or ID because they're spans. I'm missing required field attributes. So it definitely called that out and then called out that ARIA required true missing on the custom dropdown. And then I have some functional issues, which again, these aren't accessibility issues really, but they would prevent if this was a live form in a production environment, it wouldn't actually work because it wouldn't work very reliably because we're missing the name attributes on the form fields. We're missing IDs, which those impact accessibility because we do need those IDs to be able to associate the labels. If we're going to do explicit association of the labels, our drop-down value is not captured, so it called that same thing out, and there's no form validation. Okay, so it's recommending improvements, and again, like first recommendation it makes is to replace this custom drop-down with a semantic select. So I like that. I like that it's telling me to go the semantic HTML route. That would be the ideal solution here, absolutely. And then it's telling me labels should have the 4 attributes. I should actually use labels. I can add the required attribute, ARIA required true for my dropdown. Validation feedback, which I'm not worried about for today. We're going to skip over that for right now. Of course, in a real form, you would absolutely want to have validation and make sure that your error messages and everything were fully accessible. So, but we're just skipping it today just for saving time, and I wanted to focus on the custom dropdown. Okay, so the simplest fix for the dropdown would be replacing it with a custom select element, and it is ready to go. It is ready to go to replace that select element. It does not want to write a custom element in any way, shape, or form. So I'm going to go ahead because I already started in here. Let me go ahead and clone this again. And we'll rename this one to original, I guess. And then I'll also save my JavaScript. I'm not so concerned about the CSS, if I'm being honest. Okay, script, original. Okay, and then we'll just let it go and do its thing on our regular index.html script.js. JSS. What am I talking about? JS. Okay, so I'm going to tell it here. I don't want to worry about the error handling or form instructions right now. I just want to focus on getting my custom dropdown working. I do not want to use a select. Okay, let's see how it does with that. See if it yells at me. It tells me I'm doing it wrong. We'll find out. Okay, so here's their new plan. What do we got? Okay, plan created. Accessible custom dropdown. I'll make your custom dropdown fully accessible while preserving its visual design. Here's what needs to be done. So we're going to add a role combo box. It has pop-up list box, ARIA expanded, tab index, a role list box, role option with ID attributes, ARIA active descendant. So, I mean, so far that's all looking correct. Add a hidden input so we can capture to send that actual selected value to the back end. JavaScript changes that we have. So we want to make sure that we are handling enter, space, escape, arrow keys, home, and end, which ChatGPT never mentioned. So that's good. We're going to manage focus and update ARIA active descendant as the user navigates and makes changes. Update the ARIA expanded when the dropdown opens or closes. Update ARIA selected. And then we have some CSS changes to make sure the focus is visible. And this follows the WAI ARIA combo box pattern. So plan looks good. Let's go ahead and flip to act mode and let it go ahead and make those changes, and we'll see what happens. Okay, and this is what I mean when I say I don't let it edit anything without approval first, just in case. So to say yes, you can edit index.html. I guess if I do this again, I need to make sure that I've got multiple copies of my original starting file to use. Okay, yes, go ahead and edit script.js. All right, and it's focusing on the CSS. Okay, it wants to edit my CSS file, that's fine. And still thinking. All right, well, it's done. It tries to open index.html, but I should have a server running. So let's go ahead and go over to Safari. Oops, did I close Safari altogether last time? I guess I did. Okay, it was localhost 8000. All right, so here we are. Let me whoops. I forget that doesn't hard refresh in Safari. Refresh. All right, try to make sure that we've got the new file. So let me take a look here and just make sure that we've got what we expected. Here, and drop down selected row combo box. Yeah, so this is all the new code that it gave. All right, so let's go ahead and go over to our acceptance criteria again. And let's start with keyboard. So when I move the tab key to move focus to a select, I see the focus is strongly visually indicated. So check. Then when I use the arrow keys to select an option, I see the selected option is changed. Great, the arrow key actually worked. I can move up or down. When I get to the bottom, if I hit down again, it takes me back up to the top. And then when I use the I can see the option is changed, okay? And then when I use the escape key, I can see it collapses and focus moves to the select. Yes, success. So it looks like we have, yes. So if I select an option, that actually works. So this has actually passed the keyboard test. So let's go ahead and try the screen reader test now. So let me open up VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on Safari. Custom dropdown. Custom dropdown. Contact. Enter your name. Edit text. Blank. You are currently on a text field.
All right, let me go ahead and open up the rotor.
Show page source.
Oops, that's not what I wanted. I hit the wrong keys. Okay.
Custom drop form controls menu. On item YOU. Add. Example.
Okay, so again, it's reading out the placeholders as the labels for the form fields because our form fields don't have correct labels. That's not the problem that we're working on.
General question. Inquiry type star. List box pop-up collapsed. Combo box.
Okay.
Enter your name. Edit text. Blank. YO. General question. Inquiry type star. List box pop-up collapsed. Combo box. You are expanded. List inquiry type 5 items.
Oh, that's promising. All right, so when I use a desktop screen reader and I move the tab key to move focus to a select, I hear its purpose is clear. So I think that was the case.
YOU. General question. Inquiry type star. List box pop-up collapsed. Combo box. You are currently on a combo box inside of web content.
I think that could be a little bit better. It's a little bit unclear that my currently selected option is general question. And that the label is inquiry type. So that could be improved, I think. I hear that it identifies itself as a select a pop-up, a list box, or a combo box, which it did. Hints or errors, we don't have any, so we'll skip that one. I hear it indicates which option is selected and if disabled, dimmed, or unavailable. So we don't have any unavailable options or disabled options, but let's go ahead and try changing our selection and see how it gets announced.
Expanded. List inquiry type 5. Technical support 2 of 5. Billing inquiry 3 of 5. Collapsed. Billing inquiry.
It's not actually announcing that that's a selected option. So I think that's something that got overlooked. There's probably like a ARIA active descendant isn't getting correctly updated there or something like that, but it got us a lot closer than ChatGPT did. And then when I use the arrow keys to select an option, I hear the selected option is changed, which it does read out to me the options that I'm on. So let me do that again just to show you.
Expanded. List inquiry type 5 items. Technical support 2 of 5. General question 1 of 5. Feedback 5 of 5. General question 1 of 5.
Okay, I was just testing out the home button to make sure it took me to the first option, and now I'll try the end button to make sure it takes me to the last one.
Feedback, 5 of 5.
Okay.
Partnership Opera General. Combo box new line. Billing inquiry. Technical support. General question. What feedback? 5 of 5. Collapsed. Billing inquiry. Voiceover off.
Okay. So that got us a lot closer than ChatGPT did. And it proactively mentioned switching to semantic code rather than the custom option. And then when I insisted on staying with the custom option, it did a reasonably good job at it. This could definitely still be improved. There's some things that are missing from it, but it did better than I actually thought it would, if I'm being honest. And I think because we've got 10 minutes left, I think I'm going to skip giving Claude Code the explicit accessibility prompt just because that was the very first thing that it went to. And I honestly don't know that it could do any better. So I'll try it out like, after the stream, and I'll post a comment on the stream to say if it actually was able to do that better or not. But I think for the purposes of the stream, let's go ahead and jump over to Lovable, and let's try giving it our naive prompt first. So my naive prompt, let me go ahead and close down some of this stuff here. Let's get rid of Safari out of our way for a second. So for Lovable, my naive prompt is create a contact form with fields for name, email, and message. Include a custom style dropdown for selecting an inquiry type with options. General question, technical support, billing inquiry, partnership opportunity, and feedback. Make it visually polished with modern styling. So Lovable is meant for building out whole applications and things like that. So we use it a little bit differently than we would use just a more general AI tool. So let me go ahead and paste that prompt in, and let's see what we get back. And this is my first time using Lovable, so I have no idea what to expect. All right, so it says it's awaiting further instructions, but I don't know what it needs. Let's see. Do we need something else? Or am I just seeing this because it's my first time? Okay, are we just going through that over and over again? Okay, here we go. I'll create a polished contact form with a modern professional design inspired by linear and stripe. Okay. Deep indigo primary, clean typography, and smooth interactions. Okay. Who knows where it came up with that description, but there we are. I don't know how to get rid of this carousel type thing here. Let's see. So I'm on a preview tab, but maybe that'll go away once it actually generates something. All right, so it says it is crafting a modern contact form, refining the contact flow visuals. Okay, done. I've created a polished contact form with custom style dropdown featuring icons for each inquiry type, smooth animations, form validation, and a gradient submit button. The design uses a clean indigo accent color with soft shadows and rounded corners. So the first thing I can see immediately as soon as this form rendered is that definitely does not look like a 3-to-1 contrast ratio between the form inputs and the background. So it's 1:4, is it 10 or 11, right, is the sufficient contrast of interactive elements against the background. So I think it's failing that. Let's go ahead and take a look. Oh, I see it put little icons on my drop down. Okay, so with a mouse, it seems to work correctly, although clicking outside of it on the page doesn't close it. So that's not a good sign. That's a pretty basic interaction for a mouse user. So let's go ahead and let me get my acceptance criteria open over here, and let's take a look at keyboard. So first up, I want to see, all right. So when I use tab key to move focus, that it is strongly visually indicated. That is definitely not strongly visually indicated. It's kind of funny because the other form fields that it did do have a pretty strong focus indicator on them, even though they are lacking sufficient contrast with the background, the form field itself. The focus indicator has plenty of contrast. But when I focus on that custom dropdown, it's very faint. It's very pale. And I don't think, like, number one, I don't think that's sufficient contrast with the input field itself, that gray background color of the input field, and then the light lavender of the focus indicator. I don't think that's enough contrast. And then I don't think that light lavender is sufficient contrast against the white either. So I think we have some problems there. So it fails there. And then when I use the arrow keys to select an option, I see the selected option is changed. So using the arrow keys just scrolls me up and down the page. Let's see what happens if I open it. The arrow keys do absolutely nothing except scroll up or down the page. So that is a definite fail for keyboard accessibility. Can I open this in a new window? There we go. Preview in a new tab. I didn't want the screen reader to try to be fighting between the two interfaces. So I wanted to see if I can open that in Safari, actually. Safari, come here. Does that work, or do I have to be logged in? I have to be logged in. Okay, we'll just go with Chrome for right now then for the test. Let's go ahead and see how the screen reader does. And let me get my, where did I put my acceptance criteria? Here they are over here. Oh, goodness, it wants to snap. Okay. There we go. So desktop screen reader. Okay, so the first thing is when I use a desktop screen reader, when it receives focus, its purpose should be clear and it should identify itself as one of these, select pop-up list box or combo box, basically. So let's go ahead and fire it up.
VoiceOver on Chrome. Lovable app Google Chrome. Natalie. Ended name John Doe. At email John. At example.com. Email. 1 password menu.
All right, so first thing that I noticed right away is those are not correct form labels. It did not give me correct form labels. And the reason I know that is that it is reading the placeholder text as a, oops, okay.
Now in, skip to content, button, notifications, Alt+T, John Doe, region, heading level 1, get in touch,
Okay, we may have just lost Facebook. Sorry, if you were watching on Facebook, you can jump over to YouTube, but of course you wouldn't hear me because you were on Facebook.
Notifications,
right.
Alt+T.
So let's go ahead and go to
name
our
John
custom
Doe, edit email, select an inquiry type, button, group. You are currently on a button, group, inside of web content, to
Okay, so that gives me a button. And to click this button, of course, I can do that. So it is not announcing itself as a combo box. It announces itself as a button. And of course, I have no idea what that button would actually do. So it fails on that one. We're going to see if I can operate this at all. So let's go ahead and see if I can open it. Although,
email, select an inquiry type, button, group. You are currently on a button, group, inside of web content. To click this button.
Okay, that's interesting. It is, as you saw, it did toggle open and closed, but it didn't announce that anything had open or closed. It did play a weird sound. I don't know if that came through on the stream. It played like a little clicky sound when I opened and closed it that I didn't notice before. Let's see if I can make any selections in there. Oh, no. No, I sure can't. All I can do is scroll up and down the page.
General technical support button, group. You are currently on a...
Oh, there we go. It is not a drop down. It is a box with a bunch of buttons in it. Yeah, so that's not very good. I mean, technically, I guess
billing inquiry button.
Those can receive keyboard focus, but it's just a bunch of buttons that say something, and how would I ever figure out what that's going to do? when I click on one of
Lovable
those
app, web
buttons.
content. You are currently on a web content.
And then as soon as I selected an option, it lost focus completely. Focus just went back to the browser window. So this is a big fail. It's a big fail. Not at all accessible. So let's go ahead and
Lovable close web HTML name John Doe voiceover off
and turn voiceover off. And let's see, how do I start a new one here in Lovable? Okay, let's go ahead and give it my new prompt. Oops, is that my prompt? No. Where's my prompt file? Oh, I saw it there. There it is. Okay, let's try the explicit accessibility prompt for Lovable, and we'll see what we get back. So my explicit accessibility prompt is create a contact form with fields for name, email, and message. Include a custom style dropdown for selecting an inquiry type with options, general question, technical support, billing inquiry, partnership opportunity, and feedback. Make sure the form is fully accessible. The dropdown should be keyboard navigable, have proper ARIA rules, and work with screen readers. Okay, so let's try giving it that prompt instead. Oops, I guess we have to delete this old prompt first. And do I have to, is this going to start a new project? It's really hard to tell what's going on here. Let's go ahead and see what happens. Okay, it really needs to stop with this animated carousel while it's thinking. Not accessible. So the interface itself, not accessible at all. And of course, I didn't even try using this interface with keyboard only or with a screen reader, but I'm going to bet it's not great. All right, so it came back to me and it said, I'll create a beautiful, accessible contact form with a custom dropdown. The design will be clean and professional with warm tones, soft shadows, and smooth animations. Design inspiration, modern SaaS contact forms, clean, minimal, and subtle depth and warmth. Features, a fully accessible custom dropdown with keyboard navigation, ARIA rules and screen reader support, smooth animations and focus states, and form validation with Zod. I'm not familiar with Zod, but I don't know. We'll see what it comes up with. My guess would be that's some kind of library, validation library. Maybe. So let's go ahead and see what it comes up with. Connecting form to live validation. Tailwind. Okay, we're using Tailwind. Integrating calm styling delights. Wow, that is a phrase. Calm styling delights. Tuning theme hues for clarity. These are some pretty awesome status updates as it goes. But you can see like one of the main differences between using a tool like Lovable is it's giving me these kind of fluffy descriptions of what it's doing behind the scenes, where using Klein with Claude Code in my IDE, I was able to very transparently see exactly what it was doing, right? It said, I'm editing this file, I'm editing that file, and I'm doing this and that and the other thing. So we get a lot more transparency, I think, with that kind of approach than to what we get over here. Okay, and it says, done. I've created a beautiful, fully accessible contact form with a custom dropdown with full keyboard navigation. ARIA support is screen reader friendly, Zod validation for all fields with helpful error messages, warm teal accent. Isn't teal a cool color? So whatever. Design with soft shadows and smooth animations. A success state with a confirmation message after submission. All right, let's go ahead and open that in its own window. And let's give it a try. So let's go ahead and go. We're done with these prompts now. Keyboard support. So first, when I land on it, focus should be visible. So in this case, the focus does look a lot better than it did last time. It's the same focus style that we have on the other form fields. And also this time it looks like it used an offset on the outline so that it's bumped out just a little bit from the actual form field. So that's a pass. So I can strongly see that there is a visual indication of focus. And then when I use the arrow keys, I can select an option. So that actually looks pretty promising. I hit the down arrow and it opened up. Let me scroll down a little bit so we can see it better. And I'm able to go ahead and use the arrow keys up and down to make a selection. hit the enter key and it made a selection. I hit the down key again. Let's hit the space bar. Yes, that works as well. So arrow keys, and then when I hit the escape key, when it is open, I see it collapses. Yes. Okay. So pass on our keyboard test. Now let's go ahead and try it with the screen reader and see how that goes.
VoiceOver on Chrome. Lovable app Google Chrome. Natalie. And digit 2. Window. Name John Doe. Required.
Okay, so my first test is when I use the tab key to move focus to the select, I hear its purpose is clear. So let's go ahead and do that first.
Email general question. Inquiry type. List box pop-up collapsed. Combo box. You are currently on a combo box. Type text or to display a list of choices. Press Control Options.
Okay, so it did make its purpose clear. It let me know that it was a combo box. So that's my next criterion, is that it identifies itself as a select pop-up menu, submenu, list box, or combo box. I don't know that we have any hints or errors, but it did say it had error handling. So maybe we'll try that in a second, just because it's there already. And then I hear it indicates which option is selected. So let's go ahead and try that out. I'm going to go off of it and then back to it again.
Email general question. Inquiry type. List box pop-up collapsed. Combo box. You are currently on a combo box. Type text or to display a list of choices. Press Control Option. General question. Menu item 1 of 5. You are currently on a menu item. Ins technical support not selected. Menu item 2. A billing inquiry not selected. Menu item.
So that's actually what we were missing from Claude Code, is it wasn't telling us which options were selected, and we can hear that that's happening this time.
Tech general question. Menu item 1. Technical support not selected. Billing inquiry not selected. Partnership opportunity not selected. Menu item 4 of 5. You are currently on a menu item. Inside of a collapsed. Partnership opportunity. You are currently on a combo box.
Okay, so it announced that it closed. It indicated which option was selected before it closed. We don't have any disabled or dimmed or unavailable options in the dropdown, rather, so we can't test that one out. Let's go ahead and set it back to. Let's go ahead and fill out this form.
Fill all inputs with head.
So this
Fill
is a
all inputs with
browser add-on called Fake Filler. It is really great when you're doing lots of testing and you just need to fill in a form real fast.
Partnership general question collapsed. Heading level 2. Send us a message. All fields marked with are required. Heading level 1, 2.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and
sending.
submit.
Heading level 2. Send us a message. All fields marked with are required. Heading level 1, 2 items.
That actually seems pretty decent. Let's
Carol contact 4. Heading level.
So I can't test out error
general
message
question
on this
general
field.
Question.
I can't test out an error message on this field because it's not a required field, and so there's no way for there to be an error. But since we have error handling on the other fields, let me go ahead and I'll delete one of the fields, and we'll try submitting and see what happens.
Message. How can we help? Message is required. Send message. Message is required. Required invalid data. Text entry area. You are currently on a text area.
Okay, so it read out the error message. The error message was correctly programmatically associated with the form field. So this one, I think the results from Lovable are the most interesting of all of them, because when I just asked it to build me a contact form, it did an absolutely abysmal job at it. It didn't have form labels, even, it didn't get something as simple as a text input with a label correct. However, once I gave it the accessible prompt and said I wanted something explicitly accessible with full support for keyboard and screen reader, it ended up doing the best job of any of them. So who knew? I'm completely surprised. I had very low hopes for what I was going to get back from that after I saw what it gave me with the naive prompt. I had really low hopes for what I might get back from the accessible prompt. But of course, we could dig into the code in detail. But as far as the acceptance criteria are concerned, it seems to pass or mostly pass all of them. And even has correct error handling kind of built in. And you saw that after I submitted the form, it announced to me correctly that the form had been submitted and read out the confirmation message. So it actually did a pretty decent job of implementing a custom dropdown. And I'm just going to turn off voiceover here.
Voiceover off.
And just actually double check and confirm that that actually is a custom dropdown and not a select. Yeah, it absolutely is. Okay. So there you go. That's our results. So ChatGPT was not able to give us a working example at all. And of course, it's always challenging to try to get code out of a chat interface like that. Of course, like we could have used Codex, we could have integrated the ChatGPT API with something like Klein or put it into VS Code directly and tried to use it there. We may have gotten some better results, and maybe that's something that I can try next time. Claude actually did a pretty good job just kind of out of the box. Like, I don't know, like if I were going to give them letter grades, I think I would have to give ChatGPT like a D, because it did correctly identify accessibility issues with my form, which is what I asked. What are the problems with this form? And it immediately identified the accessibility issues and prompted me, I guess, to do the right thing, which was to use a semantic select element. However, as soon as it came to actually fixing the code, it kind of fell down and it didn't work out so well. And, ChatGPT really struggles with kind of maintaining context. And so I suspect that what happened there, and I'll have to look at the code in detail after the stream, but I suspect that what happened is that it just hallucinated some IDs or class names or something, and just had, JavaScript. It wrote all that beautiful JavaScript and it wasn't even working or applying to the page, because we couldn't even interact with that select at all. So it seemed completely broken. Claude, I feel like I would give Claude about a C, and I'll try the accessible prompt on Claude to see if it does any better. But honestly, it did it did really well at doing the review and identifying without even being asked explicitly. It identified very first, like there's accessibility issues on this form. So I like that. I also like that it did push me multiple times, like in multiple places, it pushed me to switch to a semantic select element rather than trying to use my custom dropdown, which is I think the correct path that it should have pushed me towards. So that was really interesting. And then as far as the code that it output, it did, it would be hard to do a worse job than ChatGPT, but it did a better job. And it did get us, I don't know, 75% of the way there, on an accessible form field. Like I think most screen reader users and keyboard users would have been able to fill that out, but there was still some barriers left there for sure, where there was a few things that could have been better. And then Lovable, I think, is the most shocking of all, because I think it basically would get an F for the form that it decided to output when I gave it the naive prompt, which, that's concerning, because I think most people who are building something on Lovable are using, for the purposes of this stream, what I'm calling a naive prompt, where they're not explicitly asking for accessibility. And, it didn't even give labels to form fields, which is like a really basic thing to do. It completely, produced a completely inaccessible form and even got the very simple and straightforward things wrong. But then after it was prompted to do an accessible result, it ended up doing the best job of any of them. And yeah, there's probably still some barriers in this form, but it really did a pretty good job at implementing what's a pretty complex custom component, and was able to meet all of these acceptance criteria. And again, I want to take a look at the code that it generated and kind of look that over and see exactly what it was doing and how it put that all together. But as far as accessibility wise, it seems to have done actually a really decent job at it. So I think definitely if you are using Lovable, include accessibility in all of your prompts. With ChatGPT and Claude, now, of course, those are my ChatGPT and Claude that I use all the time. And they may be a little biased toward accessibility because I use them for accessibility related things all the time. So your mileage may vary. If you're, if you know your account, you don't talk about accessibility constantly, that might be the reason that both of those surfaced it so immediately. It'd be interesting to try on another account where it wasn't primed with that prior information to see if it went immediately to accessibility issues like that. Um, but yeah, so there we are. Maybe next time we'll try it out on a Windows machine and try out a couple of other different types of models. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me today. This was a really interesting experiment, was not at all what I expected, which was a little bit of the point. But here we are. I hope that you were surprised by something. I hope you learned something. And I do these live streams every other Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. They are always recorded. You can go back and watch the backlog of those on LinkedIn or on YouTube. And then just this stream and the previous one are also on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I will see you next time. Hopefully, have a wonderful afternoon.